Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. The new pirate-themed banner that was previewed during the most recent Fade channel is about to go live tomorrow, and we've got a very interesting bunch of units lined up for this banner. Each one of them hail from completely separate Fire Emblem games, making for a very odd combination to feature in a banner so close to Choose Your Legends. Nevertheless, I've got my eye on a particular unit from this banner that I thought it might be fun to take a closer look at. You've already seen the thumbnail, so you know that I'm talking about the Big Burp himself. It's the Hawk King of Phoenices, Tibarn. Now, it's kind of needless to say, but Tibarn isn't the demoted unit of this banner. Far from it, really. He's not a Tempest Trial unit, he's not a Grand Hero unit, he's not a Resplendent, he's not a unit that would normally meet the criteria for me to make a dedicated unit builder for here on my channel. And yet, here we are. I love his art, he's a badass character in the Tellius series, and was my personal choice on the last chapter of Path of Radiance. I didn't think he'd get an alt anytime soon, but I probably should have seen this coming since Leith, Selkie, and most recently Nayla have now gotten alts, so I suppose it was only a matter of time. Coming in as a colorless beast flyer, Tibarn's neutral stats at 5 stars level 40 read as HP 42, attack 41, speed 30, defense 36, and resistance 18. Ooh, that attack stat is so incredibly spicy, and for the record, I calculated his attack by subtracting his weapon might from the attack stat shown in the trailer. 55 minus 14 equals 41, just so we're clear. Anyway, they took into consideration everything that Tibarn excels in, made some small but important tweaks, and made him even better at what he does. And what he does is gale forcing across a map and nuking your teams within the first turn of a map. It's insane. Tibarn has always been very lethal, and to put things into perspective, I'm going to make a side-by-side comparison of his regular base version stats to help highlight the differences. Tibarn gains 1 point in HP, which is admittedly negligible, but welcome nonetheless. However, what's really striking is this new attack stat. He jumped from 38 attack up to 41, which is a huge jump when you really consider the types of skills that were most commonly found on Tibarn. Specifically, Heavy Blade 3, which we'll talk about in just a moment. The point being that Tibarn wants to have sky-high attack. It's imperative for him, given his playstyle. It's for this reason the rest of his stat changes are so marginal. Pirate Tibarn loses 1 point in speed, which is fine because he automatically performs follow-up attacks in the player phase thanks to his weapon, which again we'll talk about in just a moment. Trying not to get ahead of myself, I'm excited, what can I say? Now, as far as bulk goes, his resistance remains the same and he gets 2 additional points in his defense. Now, Tibarn has never been able to take magical hits. The man's gotta have some flaw, am I right? So that's fine, but the extra 2 points in defense are appreciated. In the odd scenario that Tibarn isn't able to kill his foe within that first engagement, he'll have some extra defense to help keep him alive just a little bit longer. Overall, his stats were definitely tweaked and min-maxed to better suit his playstyle. Now, let's finally move on to his base kit, as this is where things really start to get spicy. In his weapon slot, he's got the Sky Pirate Claw. It's got 14 might and has a built-in slaying effect, automatically reducing his special cooldown cost by 1. Much like a lot of the units on this banner, his weapon also automatically inflicts -5 attack on the foe. It grants him +5 attack, and then also guarantees him a follow-up attack so long as he doesn't have any allies directly adjacent to him during combat. Okay, let's pick apart this first half because there's a lot to sink our teeth into. First of all, that slaying effect is incredibly important as it'll make it that much easier for him to activate any specials with an odd-numbered cooldown cost. Gale Force. Secondly, he's got this crazy cool conditional solo effect that further reinforces that solo rouse playstyle that we've seen on so many units over the past year. Gale Force units also tend to fly solo anyway, so it's going to be fairly easy for him to meet this condition. Now, the second half of his weapon description is the same as regular Tibarn's weapon. At the start of a turn, if Tibarn is adjacent to only beast or dragon allies, or no allies at all, he will transform. And when transformed, Tibarn can move 1 extra space and he gets an additional +2 attack. This is part of what made normal Tibarn such a huge threat. His ability to soar 3 spaces across the map, kill a foe, activate Gale Force, and then continue to soar and pick off the nearby enemy. That +2 attack just makes him that much better at what he does. Overall, this weapon is insanely good, and seeing as how beast weapons don't have the option of being swapped out or refined, it damn well better be a good weapon. There's more to talk about though, as the man has a beautiful base kit. In his special slot, he comes with Gale Force. Gale Force has a cooldown cost of 5 and allows the unit to make an additional move after combat once activated. Regular Tibarn was already one of the best Gale Forcers in the game, and so Intelligence Systems really just said, no need to waste 20,000 feathers on your Cordelia combat manual, we'll just give Tibarn Gale Force right out of the box. And so they did. Now, keep in mind that thanks to his weapon's slaying effect, the cooldown cost to activate Gale Force drops from 5 to 4, making it that much easier to activate on account of his A slot, Heavy Blade 4. Oh boy. Heavy Blade 3 was already the most popular S skill for any Tibarn, but now they've really outdone themselves by giving him the tier 4 variant in his A slot. This skill grants him an extra cooldown charge for every attack that he makes. So, for example, if he flies over and initiates onto an enemy, he's going to get 2 special charges from that first attack. If the enemy lives to counterattack, he gets 1 charge from that foe's attack, but then gains an additional 2 charges once he's able to counterattack himself. This is how Tibarn is able to activate Gale Force on the first turn after just 1 engagement. However, the difference between Heavy Blade 3 and Heavy Blade 4 is that now he deals an additional +5 true damage per hit, which is gonna make it that much easier for him to secure the kill. Insanity! The fun doesn't stop there though, because in his B slot, Tibarn's got a flashy new skill which is gonna make him even more incredibly lethal. Dive Bomb 3 is a player phase skill that allows him to perform his follow-up attack before the foe can counterattack, much like Desperation. However, unlike Desperation, all he has to do is keep his HP above 80%. Now, for anyone that's planning on pulling this skill for fodder, keep in mind that like Desperation, it doesn't guarantee you a follow-up attack, and so any unit using this skill is going to want to have high speed or a guaranteed follow-up attack of some sort, much like Tibarn. And at the time of this recording, I don't know yet what type of restrictions will be involved with this skill. Based on its design, I'm going to guess that it's exclusive to flyers, but I'll leave a comment down below in case it's not. That being said, Elincia or maybe even Speedy Cordelia might be great users of this skill, since it'll allow them to attack twice before the foe can counter, preventing them from taking any damage and further allowing them to activate Gale Force with less of a risk of being KO'd. Alright, we are almost done here. Last up we've got Attack Smoke, one of my personal favorite C skills, which after combat inflicts -7 attack on any foes within a 2-tile radius of the target foe. This is a great skill to throw on him since it'll increase his odds of activating Heavy Blade, and it'll weaken his enemy's attacks should they manage to survive. He'll fly in, engage his first enemy, kill them, debuff all nearby enemies, Gale Force will activate, and then he'll either attack a second enemy or fly to safety. And this doesn't even take into account the possibility of him being danced back up by Rayson or Leanne. Honestly, you're gonna want to watch out for this guy. I'm not one to label something as power creep so quickly, but I do believe that regular Tibarn has been sufficiently power crept by this pirate out. His kit synergizes so incredibly well, it's truly tailor-made to fit the playstyle that he already excelled in so well. Okay, now that we're finally done talking about his base kit, what is there really left to talk about in regards to actually building him? Well, not much to be honest with you. But there are a few small tweaks that I can throw out there that might be worth mentioning. Cue the PowerPoint transition. Okay, as far as building Tibarn up, it should go without saying that the preferred boon for him will be attack. At the time I'm making this video, I don't know if Tibarn has any super boons, but given his playstyle and everything we've already discussed, that extra attack will go a long way. For the sake of this video, let's assume he gets a regular boon, so that's +3 attack on top of his weapon. 41 + 3 + 14. That's 58 visible attack unmerged. Holy moly. Now, as you can see, the only two slots that I've made any changes to are his assist slot and his S slot, and that's because he doesn't come with these. For his Sacred Seal, I decided to plug in Death Blow 3, which grants him an additional +6 attack on the player phase. It's kind of a given here, but he's definitely going to want a seal that boosts his attack even higher to help ensure that Heavy Blade activates. In his assist skill, I think many of you might be shocked to find that I didn't use reposition. I know, it's very unlike me. The idea comes from my friend Freko, who runs Smite on his Claude. His Claude is tricked out with a Rouse skill, and in an effort to ensure that his Rouse skill activates at the start of each turn, he slapped Smite onto his Claude so that he could push any adjacent allies away from him. It's a pretty smart idea, and I'd honestly never consider using Smite in that context, so kudos to you, Freko. I'm slapping Smite onto Tibarn to help ensure that he's by himself at the start of the next turn, which will guarantee that he's always transformed. And lastly, I wanted to bring up the possibility of someday being able to use Attack Defense Solo 3 in the S slot. Let me make it clear, at the time of recording this video, Attack Defense Solo is not, and I repeat, not available in the Sacred Seal Forge. However, in July's Tempest Trial event, we were given access to Speed Res Solo, which was the first solo skill to be included in the Forge. That means that someday, perhaps a year from now, who knows, we'll eventually see Attack Defense Solo added into the Forge, and when that day comes, Tibarn will be a fantastic unit to use it on. It synergizes with his weapon's solo playstyle, and it'll grant him an extra 6 defense on both phases in the odd case that Tibarn actually gets hit. Just something to consider in the late future, but certainly worth mentioning. Okay, and that just about wraps things up for this video. Not a whole lot of actual unit building since he's got a full kit, but still a few minor suggestions. Anyway, here are what his stats might look like at +10. Again, might look like. I'm trying to get this video out quickly so I don't have access to those numbers just yet since the banner hasn't dropped yet. However, just to give you guys some insight on where I pulled these numbers from, what frequently happens with +10 units is that they'll usually get +5 to their 3 highest stats, which in this case are HP, attack, and defense, and then +4 to the 2 lowest stats. Usually. Again, I'll make sure to put something down in the comments in case any of these numbers are off, so please make sure to check there once the banner has gone live. Regardless of whether he's unmerged or fully maxed out, Tibarn is going to be a force to reckon with. Mark my words. Okay, and that is it for today's video. Like I said, there wasn't a whole lot of actual unit building, which is why I don't usually cover the units that aren't free or demoted, but I'm incredibly tempted to summon him, and I can genuinely see myself +10ing him. Someday. Probably won't happen this month, since I'm still recovering my orbs from my last summoning session for Summer Wold. But thankfully, we're getting a lot of orbs this month, and the Tempest Trials are about to start, so there's more orbs on the horizon. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. We are so close to hitting 1,000 subscribers, it's insane. Not sure what I'm gonna do once I hit 1K, but if you have any ideas, please let me know in the comments section below. Also, if you haven't already heard, I've started live streaming Saturdays and Sundays on both YouTube and Twitch. We do themed rival domain maps each weekend using your units, so drop by if you have a chance. And lastly, please let me know down below if you plan on summoning on this banner. I know I'd like to, but I'll have to wait for the last week to know if I'll have enough orbs. We'll see. Anyway, that is it for today. Until next time, happy saving, happy summoning, and take care.